Okay, let's get started. Hello, and thank you for joining our session today on how to track down and remediate Log4j vulnerabilities. In this session, we'll highlight how Device42's comprehensive discovery identifies environmental threats, like what we've been seeing with issues like Log4j most recently. Then we're going to show you how our custom Power BI dashboards help visualize Device42 discovery data so you can take the necessary steps towards analysis, remediation, and continuously track going forward. My name is John Friedman. I'm on the marketing team here at Device42, and I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Joining us is Adam St. Ange, an enterprise account leader at Device42 with over 15 years of experience in corporate IT. From his humble beginnings working overnight in the NOC to architecting greenfield data centers for Fortune 500 companies, Adam has a unique perspective in not only being able to see the challenges within the trenches of IT, but also to recognize the end-to-end business value that matters most to IT leaders. Also joining us from our technical team today is one of our solution architects, Ian Kay. Ian has been with Device42 for over 4 years now and works closely with our customers and partners to rapidly identify solutions to their critical IT challenges. Ian will be providing a demo for us today, and you may not know this about him, but he currently holds 5 cloud certificates across AWS and Azure. So if you ever need any pointers in getting certified, he's your guy. Before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping items. We plan to keep this session short and sweet. It should only take 30 minutes of your time here today. We've also allotted some time for live Q&A at the end, so if you do have any questions throughout the session, feel free to send them to us via the questions box in your GoToWebinar chat window pane, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. This presentation is also being recorded and will be shared after, along with access to the dashboards and a link to download our free trial. Without further ado, let's get started. Adam, over to you.
Thanks, John. Welcome everyone to our Log4j webinar. I'm sure by now everyone's heard of Log4j, but just for a short recap, Log4j is a Java-based logging library that's used very broadly across the entire industry and can be found pretty much in every environment. Now, late last year, there was a vulnerability that was discovered in this library, and shortly afterwards, there was an exploit found in the wild. Now, due to the broad deployment of Log4j and the simplicity and criticality of this exploit, which is called Log4Shell, it was deemed a rare 10 CVSS score, which is the maximum rating. Now, this triggered immediate action across the industry. So we saw companies come out with immediate patches from all the popular vendors, whether it's Apple, it's Amazon, Cisco, Red Hat, Microsoft, and many others. And so I'm sure many people on this call were forced into action, right? IT orgs across the world had to respond. And so people put in a lot of long hours to locate, test, patch, and release this software across the organization. But the good news is people did respond quickly, and about 45% of the vulnerable systems that were detectable out on the internet were patched. And so that's some nice quick response times by the global community. But a lot of organizations are still struggling to identify where in their environment the remaining Log4j deployments exist and track those down so they can remediate them. And that's exactly what we're going to be focusing on in this webinar. Now, Log4j provides a fundamental utility to many software products, both vendor commercial solutions as well as your own custom software that your organization is developing. So understanding the exposure has been a tough proposition for a lot of IT orgs. And unfortunately, getting it wrong has some pretty serious consequences. The Log4Shell exploit, for example, provides attackers with root shell access. And that's pretty serious. Having shell to a system is as bad as it gets. And this is going to allow attackers to compromise sensitive internal business data, customer data. They can move laterally within the environment and find even more enriched or higher value data. It really provides a very strong foothold for attackers in an IT environment. And the potential for data leakage, regulatory fines, and reputational damage is very real and needs to be taken seriously. The good news is that the entire IT community is coming together. It takes a world-defining event like this to really bring people together, but there are great amounts of content and guidance and action plans that are being produced to help thwart these attacks. The Center for Internet Security, CIS, has actually prescribed a specific action plan to deal with Log4j, starting with step 1, which is to build a complete inventory of your entire infrastructure, have an inventory of the vendor software, the custom software in your environment, and have that referenceable. Now, once you understand your environment, you can compare your discovered vendor software inventory against the community affected vendor list, and that'll allow you to build your action plan on where you need to apply vendor patches. Now, the more challenging exercise is starting to track down and locate the custom software that's been built by your organization where a Log4j library may be in use. And here, the team is really starting to recommend a two-pronged approach. So the first is utilizing static code analysis tools to identify library dependencies. That's a great way to look at what's been written, what specific libraries are called, and what those dependency chains are. And also leverage a discovery solution like Device42 application dependency mapping to get insights into the custom software binary starter parameters to identify any external Log4j dependencies. So this will ensure you're covered from both aspects of the command line parameters and the source code libraries that are embedded in these custom applications. And then the last action that CIS recommends is putting in place the tools to be able to continuously inventory the environment and be aware of any changes, any new potentially vulnerable software, or just be ready for the next Log4j event. You'll have the inventory data that you need to respond to that. So once we understand that environment, we understand where those vulnerable systems are, the thing that CIS does a great job is actually building that action plan for finding them. But once you have that long list that we've kind of compiled across the entire environment, where do you start? And how do you pick which ones you should be remediating first? So based on some conversations we've had with customers, partners, security experts, we believe that a three-phased approach is best. Priority 1, focus on anything that's exposed out to the public internet. This is very straightforward, but these systems are the utmost importance because they're publicly addressable, they're easy to be scanned, and where you have the ability to, proverbially batten down the hatches and remediate anything that external entities could easily locate and exploit, you need to make that a top priority. Now, priority 2 is focus on the commercial software that's known to be vulnerable that you found with your discovery tooling, and use the vendor patches. After several weeks, there was a few iterations of the Log4j patches. They seem to have calmed down by now, and the vendors have all stabilized those patches. So they have been fairly broadly deployed and tested. So there should be minimal risk to the availability of those platforms and the downstream systems. And take the easy wins on those, patch them, and keep moving down your list. Now, priority 3 this is the toughest, right? So these are the custom applications that are leveraging Log4j internally in the code base. So these are going to require development, DevOps, QA, change management, release teams, all to coordinate and to accomplish. And so we'd recommend sub-prioritizing this list since it is the most complex. Anything with PII data, so that personally identifiable information, should be the top priority in the group, and then move down the list based on the data sensitivity of those custom applications. Now, as you plan to remediate these applications, keep in mind that no application is an island. Ensure you're considering the downstream dependencies of these applications. And this is where something like application dependency mapping can really become helpful to understanding what are the dependencies of this application that we're going to patch, that we're going to restart, that we could potentially impact, and how is that going to alter the environment around it? What could be the potential blast radius for this application if things were to go poorly? And this is the best way to consider that, lower your risk of change collisions, as well as any potential production outages. So how can Device42 help? Well, Device42 is a complete IT discovery solution. So we help customers find, locate, understand everything in their environment, and we do that with IT discovery. So everything in Device42 begins with that discovery capability. We discover the complete IT environment, build out a robust inventory of all the systems that exist in that IT environment, and then pass that information through our algorithms to understand the dependencies of those systems. And so that yields a lot of helpful data. I won't read all of this in detail, but you can see it's a pretty intensive list. It's a great depth of information about your environment. And with this discovery, you're going to be able to understand all sorts of details about the physical and virtual servers, network devices in your environment, the operating systems they're running, the vendor software, the custom services, the custom applications that have been developed for your environment, as well as the dependencies of both those vendor software and custom applications. And we do the same thing for the various other platforms like storage. We have a great way to understand the storage arrays in the environment and how they map to the systems and to the servers, so you can plan for those changes, plan for the capacity, and plan for any downtime due to any upcoming changes. And we also prioritize making this data really useful and easy to understand at all levels of the organization. And we do this through our built-in reporting engine, as well as we have an integration with Power BI that provides really robust dashboards. And these help share the information that you're discovering about the environment to all levels of IT management in your organization in a way that's consumable for all parties. Now, we're really excited to show you how this could work in your environment. And for now, I'll turn it over to Ian to take you through a live demo of Device42.
Thanks, Adam. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and just double check that that's coming through. All right, so I am now in the Device42 platform, and there are a couple of approaches I could take when I want to start to dig into where I might have some vulnerabilities or exploits, especially around Log4j. So I come into the resources section here and then into all devices, and this will give me a list view of everything that Device42 has discovered across my environment. So from here, there are a couple ways that I can filter down to look at a specific subset of devices. So whether that's by device type, such as physical versus virtual, hardware models for those physical assets. These are all possibilities, but maybe I've gone to the trouble of doing some extensive tagging in my environment and I want to drill down using those options. So what I've done is created a tag specifically for any of my servers or machines that are involved in logging of any kind. So I dropped that list of around 2,500 devices down to 50 really quickly. And so from here, I can investigate further and see, what vulnerable software packages might be installed, what services may be running that could be exploited. I could also export this list of devices into a report or a spreadsheet to pass to someone else that might need to investigate further. Another approach I could take is to jump into the software section and take a look at all of the discovered software components. And then from here, I can do a simple search for Log4j. And this is going to show me anything that might have Log4j in the package name at all, anything that was discovered. And so really quickly, I can see I've got a count of 2 discovered in the environment. I can drill down into the software component and then get a little bit more detail. So now I can scroll to the bottom and see the versioning and the devices they've been discovered on. So it looks like we have a couple of EC2 instances that might have something to further look into. From the service side, so anytime that software is running as a service, we'll pull in information related to that. So I can come into the discovered service instances that have been found running across the environment and do another quick search for Log4j. And so this is going to search across the service names, but also those command arguments. So anything related, any command arguments that may call or use Log4j in the name will be included in that search. And so I can come in here, take a look across the command arguments, and then just to verify, I'll do a quick search for Log4j and see, here it is. So this is a Java instance that has this in the command argument. Might need to take a further look into this and make a decision about what to do. And then on the service instances, I can also verify, is this a listening service that a device is communicating to? Is it a potential point of ingress for some bad actor? But luckily here, I can see it's listening on this local IP here, here's the port it's listening on, but there are no incoming client IP. So at the time of this discovery for this service, nothing was connecting to it. Now, what you can do with all this information is export it into some reports or some dashboards that Adam mentioned earlier. So I'll pull up a couple of examples of that, and these are available at device42.com/dashboards. And so there's a couple different options that are available, and these are all free of charge. We're happy to share the templates with you for Power BI. So this one I pulled up specifically here is the Log4j compromised processes and software. And so this is highlighting any of those service instances that have been discovered that have Log4j involved in them somewhere. So we saw the command argument specifically. So here are two devices that the Log4j compromised processes have been found on. Here are the two service instances, which we saw earlier were related to Java. And then this specifically was the one device that we looked at that had that, or excuse me, this one here was the one specifically that had the Log4j in the command argument. So it's showing us what the service is, the device, if it's related to an application component of some kind, so some kind of database or app layer component, and then the Log4j path location. Similarly, on the software side, this is showing us not just the Log4j compromised software, but any software packages from any compromised vendors. So I can filter further here by a specific year if I want to, even down to the quarter. It's listing the vulnerable vendors and what devices they're on. Here are the devices if I wanted to take a look specifically, and then the software packages and the versioning on those devices. So this is giving me a look at everything discovered in 2021. But if I click on my colleague's laptop here, I can see exactly what the compromised package is. So it looks like it's related to Citrix and the different versions when it was last updated and detected by Device42. Now, alternately, there is one more that I think might be useful from kind of remediating some of those additional steps that CIS took to put together. And so if I click on the secure infrastructure dashboard here, I can see some additional information. So this is where Device42 can also come into play around identifying public exposed servers or IP addresses. And so looks like this is hanging up on me a little bit. Let me try to refresh real quickly. And so this will start to highlight ports that are commonly exposed or attacked from bad actors. It will identify public-facing IP addresses and any connections that might be coming in there. Unfortunately, it looks like the internet is not playing with me. But again, this is all available on device42.com/dashboards, and we're happy to send these dashboards to you. They're also available on our GitHub. All right, so Adam, I'll hand it back over to you.
Great, thank you, Ian. So, all right, so one of the things that we wanted to share now was the Device42 is offering a free trial of Device42 to test out in your environment, test out these Log4j messages, and we do have the ability to do that at no additional cost. So it's a guided POC process that we run here, and something that we can work with you in your environment. We would align a solution architect like Ian to help show that Device42 is able to discover the systems, the software, the custom applications, and make those identifications around things like Log4j and other activities visible to you in your environment. And with that said, we will turn it over to Q&A. So any questions, please put those in the chat box, and we will be happy to walk through those. Any specific questions about the dashboards, about where we're finding Log4j, or anything, we're happy to do that. I think we're coming to the end of the questions, so pause for maybe another 10 seconds, see if any more are coming in. Otherwise, I think we will thank everyone for their time here today. I'll turn it back over to John.
All right, thanks, Adam. Yep, looks like we don't have any more questions here, so we'll close it out. Just want to refer everyone to the device42.com/download link to get your free trial. We'll be following up with recording after this session as well. And you'll receive a recording, answers to any of the questions, and the link to the trial, as well as to the link to those dashboards. So I just want to thank everyone again for your time today. Hope you found some value from this session, and hope you have a great day. Bye for now.